Hi, it's Jared from Strong Roots Farm. Today I'm going over the fifth thing, the final thing that I wish I knew or I wish I understood better before I started a farm or started gardening. That's coming up after this.
Hi, I'm Jared McGinnis. Thanks for joining me and my family on this adventure, where over the next 2 years, we're going to show you how to change an average subdivision home into a local, sustainable food source for you and your family. From market gardening to orchards, greenhouses, and water catchment systems, it's all right here on Strong Roots Farm.
All right, the fifth thing that I think most people don't understand, and this fifth part I knew a lot of growing up on a farm. But I think the fifth thing that I think people need to know is the stressors. And so as you watch market gardening videos, as you watch home gardening, as you watch homesteaders, I don't see a lot of the failures. Some people do a pretty good job about every now and then putting in one of their failures here or there, but I don't see a ton of failures. They don't sell as well, obviously, as successes. So I think you ought to understand the stressors, the failures, the problems that come about with it. And throughout this whole series that I've done, there have been kind of those three levels like we talked about, the home gardener, the homesteader, and then the guy being the market gardener. So if you're gonna go into market gardening, I think this is why so many people recommend going and doing an internship somewhere, because understanding the labor, the physical tasks that you have to do in gardening and farming, all the things, especially if you didn't grow up on a farm, it's very different from most things. Not only are you being a physical labor, comparatively to a construction worker or an excavator or something of that nature. Those guys work hard too, bricklayers, whatever your job would be. There's lots of hard physical jobs out there. But you also have to play with the weather, and you also have to pay with the season and pestilence. There's so many other factors that come along in farming and gardening that cause huge stressors. And so that's why I think internships are a great opportunity or a great learning ability for a person if you're looking to get into market gardening. The lower levels, homesteading, there's a lot of that too. You might want to check into some more of those apprenticeships for that. The home gardener, I recommend just going at it, trying. Failures are small, they cost little amounts if you're a home gardener. So understanding some of those. So I'm going to take you through some of these things that I think you need to pay attention to. So as we mentioned failures, I want to talk to you about this compost propagation table that I made just to show you one of my failures. And so it's worked pretty well about keeping the heat in. It's done a good job of being a good table, all those kind of things. The bad part is it's not vented. So we had a day when I went to work, it was 40 degrees. I didn't uncover it. My plants all had water, but it got up to like 78 degrees one day while I was at work. It wasn't uncovered, and I come home and all of my onions were fried. They were all bent over brown. I tried to bring them back inside. I tried to get the venting going. You can see it's uncovered today as it's nice and sunny out here. So I ended up having to go another route through this failure and buy some onions from a guy who had them already seeded. And so luckily a guy had too much and I got enough to do my one bed that I wanted anyways. And so there's a huge failure. Like, I didn't intend on that happening. It's all because I didn't have the proper infrastructure first with a nice vented seed starting greenhouse. The weather has hugely changed here in Ohio in the last 2 to 3 weeks. It went from 30s and 40s to 60s and 70s very quickly, and we're still getting cold at night, but I don't have the heat on in my house. The weather just turned extremely quick. Like spring, we went right into early summer. So that's one thing. There's a failure of mine. Understand that's going to be a stressor as you home garden, as you market garden. You're going to lose things. You're going to fight these things. The next thing about stressors is I think you need to find a way to keep motivated. So, if you're not an internally motivated person, a person who's just driven to be the best. I really have this, whether it's from the military or sports or wherever I gained it in my life. I'm really driven just to be the best at what I do. And push myself, and I always have projects going on. It seems like I rarely sit down on the couch. And so how do I keep motivation? And that's really, for me, that's one reason I do YouTube. It lets me go back. It's a good catalog for me to go back in my history and see things that I did for myself, even though I'm the one making the video. It helps other people, which I like. I'm here for other people, but it also keeps me motivated. So as I can show progress in things, it helps to keep me motivated to make these videos. You have to find what's going to keep you motivated. So I'm dealing with my son with sports, and this is just kind of an example. and he wants to be this or that, right? He wants to be a great basketball player or a great baseball player. And we go to trainers and we work, and I work with him on the side. And I was an athlete, and was being the main word there. But he works at these things, but his intentions, his motivations, they quickly fade away as the next season comes because he's little and he doesn't focus on those things. So if you're going to jump into selling your home and moving to another state and being a homesteader, you better know why you're going to do that to keep that motivation. If you're going to jump into a garden and till your whole yard up and jump into these things, you need to understand why you're doing that and keep that motivation to do it and continue to grow in it. If you're going to start gardening and home farming and all these kind of things, you need to understand and keep that motivation. So find something that's going to motivate you, to push you, and do that. And then take the other things that we've talked about, as well as apprenticeships and networking and all the kind of things, to kind of keep you going, kind of just get you over the next hump until you get leveled out and get successful. So keeping a motivation is a huge thing when you're understanding these stressors. How are you going to keep that motivation through the stressors? So once again, my failures, as we go into keeping up and keeping motivated in the stressors, the last 3 weeks have been very demotivating for me, just hard on me. And so that's the reason this 5th video took so long. There was such a big gap there. So one thing that happened was I've had a back injury for a while, and it's kind of grown over time. I had it from the military, and now I've got it as I build a house and as I do different things. But it really flared up to the point that I'm seeing therapists and MRIs, and now I'm on drugs, and I have 3 bulging herniated discs. And so I've been in a lot of pain lately. And so getting out and working has been extremely disheartening. It just hurts anything I do. I can't even hardly sleep at night. We've bought a new bed, done massage, we've done all kinds of different things. So back injury just has destroyed me. And as I'm working through this and stretching and all the kind of stuff, I'm getting better. And I see through the motivation. I see I'm through the valley of it and going towards the hilltop again. But it's been very demotivating for me. The second thing is this whole coronavirus thing. I'm having to work from home some and then go in, and we can't get out and get stuff, and places are closed down, and all these different things. The kids are now, my wife's a school teacher, and the kids are now everywhere in the house, and school stuff is everywhere, and she's having to teach classes online and teach our kids. So the last 3 weeks have just been like bombardment, comparatively to the rest of life, that I haven't had this. So I've had 3 weeks of this really rough season. The weather coming out has really helped me getting outside, getting in the sun, getting to work, but I'm still motivated. I'm still there, but those things affected me. They affected the video. It's delayed. I wanted to get it out 3 or 4 days after the 4th one. And you can see how this is happening. And it's also, there's boxes piling up and the shop's getting dirty as we're, planting and bringing in compost and doing stuff, which will be my next video. I'll show you some of the things that I've done in the garden. And so I'm fighting through this, but know that even me, years of experience, I've been in farming for 25, 30 years. I'm only 38 years old. I started driving a tractor when I was 5. I grew up on the farm, picking up pigs, doing all this stuff. Besides the time I'm military, I've pretty much always had my hand in some kind of farming or gardening. And I still get like this. So I still get demotivated at times, and you have to find ways to come about it. So that's my failure the last 3 weeks, which I apologize for the delay, but understand, plan for that, and it's normal. The last failure or stressor I want to talk to you about, and I've talked about it a little bit in my other videos about marketing and how to sell and those kind of things. Farming and gardening, and if you're looking to make money at this, it's very difficult to build this market up and to get it perfect at the beginning. You're going to have a lot of waste. Just plan on composting lettuce. Just plan on composting a crop that you thought would sell that didn't. And plan on selling out of something and having disgruntled customers because you didn't plan enough, or whether it's animals or those kind of things. There are stressors in this, and you plant things like, that's why I always say plant things that you like, because it's typical that other people like those things. But understand those kind of things, that there's gonna be stressors when you're selling a direct market, because farming is one of those things that it's not just farming. It's just not planting, delivering your stuff somewhere, and they give you money for it. You have to be the marketer. You have to be the salesman. You have to be the packager and the washer and the customer service agent and all these kind of things that go along with this as we do this. All of those have stressors. In a normal company, this is 15, 20 different jobs, but you're wrapping it all into one as you go into market gardening or homesteading. And so understanding that you're gonna have stressors. You're going to end up eating a lot of stuff from your garden that you couldn't sell, and selling the stuff that you want to eat. I'll tell you that. There'll be times where we have so many green beans that it's like every night we're eating green beans, or so much lettuce. I'm having 2 salads a day just to try to not waste so much salad mix. But then there'll be times where we don't have anything. It's like, I got only carrots because that's the only thing I planted way more of. So understand that I go through that frustration at times. And over time, I've gotten good about planting enough and understanding how to can and how to freeze, and which is something I've really grown in over the years. When I was farming and as a kid, we canned some, but we weren't huge canners. We were big ag market, agricultural farmers, large equipment, grain, hogs, that kind of thing, delivered to a market. Now that I'm here, if I have extra zucchini, I blanch it, I freeze it, it's in my freezer. We'll eat it sometime during the winter. I learn how to store those things that I can't sell. But understand, there are huge stressors when it comes to selling your product, when it comes to selling those things. Understand that that's gonna happen. Understand that you're gonna be stuck at a farmer's market too long and stuff is gonna get hot. Understand, people are gonna not buy from you and complain to you. There are always haters. No matter how good your product is or how bad it is, there are always haters. Though you'll see people complain to you about stuff. They're not willing to get their hands dirty and grow their own stuff, but they try to talk you down 50 cents on a $2 bag of salad mix just because they're haters and they want to talk negatively about it. That's not people's general thing to be nice when they're trying to purchase something if they think they can get you down a little bit on it. It's stressful. It sucks at times. So understand that you're going to go through those, but there will be the huge joys. There will be the people that will say, bring me whatever. I don't care. Just bring me a box of stuff. We love your stuff. We love what you're doing. We want to support you. Those kind of things. So here's one failure for mine as it goes into this. So a couple years ago, as we were selling beef, a lot of beef, I started making boxes and selling individual pieces. So I went to a special USDA processor and we packaged up stuff, and I let people buy by pieces. So you could come in and say, I just want ribeyes, or I just want New York strips, or I want just hamburger, and you buy it. Well, then I ended up having hundreds of pounds of short ribs, and nobody wanted short ribs, and nobody around here knew how to cook short ribs, and there weren't restaurants that wanted I couldn't give them just 100 pounds and never supply them again. So I ended up eating a lot of stuff off of the cow that I didn't plan on before. And I learned as I went along, okay, every 4th cow I'm gonna get short ribs, but the rest of them, it's going right into the ground beef. We're mixing them in. So I would have enough short ribs to sell the 2 or 3 customers here. And I also, tried to show people how to cook things. And so that's why cooking videos may be good for you if you're doing a YouTube channel, to help people learn how to cook your product that you're selling. But I failed at some of that stuff. There were times where we were just making roast after roast after roast with short ribs, or grilling short ribs and eating short ribs all the time because I had them all butchered, and that's what people didn't buy. So that was one of my failures. I always end up with way too much ground beef. Comparatively, people were more than eager to buy a perfect, 100% grass-fed ribeye. But when you say, hey, why don't you buy 100 pounds of ground beef, they don't really want to buy that much. So one way I found to do this was to put a $100 box together. And it was a random box. I had kind of a measurement. You get so many steaks, 1 roast, so many pounds of hamburger, but it made them get a bigger selection. And then I'd throw that 1 pack of short ribs in there. They'd be like, what do I do with this? I'm like, roast it or sear it and grill it and do these kind of things. So I always tried to make them try one other cut that they weren't typically buying. Same thing with the pigs and the different things that we were raising. And so that's something that you can do. You can package something together where you're adding in a product. And you can do this with vegetables as well. Package in a box of your stuff and say, this is a value pack. And then you grill this kohlrabi and nobody knows how to cook it. And it's awesome stuff, but you put it in there and say, well, this is what you do with it. Slip a little recipe sheet down in there with the box. They'd be like, what is this thing? Oh, here's a recipe sheet. Let's try it. Okay. And then you start gaining some of those sales. Not a lot, but you're going to gain some. And it's going to help to get rid of that product and add value. And they're going to get weight and they're going to see it as something extra. Those kind of things. I hope this helps. I try to do this series so we could kind of plan and you could kind of think ahead as you're growing your farm. Sorry for the delay once again. I hope everybody's being safe during the coronavirus and all that's going on. I hope you're keeping your jobs, most importantly, and your families are doing okay. This Probably would have been great for us to do this last year. Everybody's wishing their gardens were up and roaring and they had their greenhouse set up now and had tons of food and found a way to organically grow toilet paper. Apparently that's a big thing. So I hope these videos help you. I will be showing some more gardening things. I've already got stuff in the ground and I'll make that video here in the next day or two, hopefully, and get that done. So thanks for watching, and comment. I'll do whatever I can to help you. I'll email you. You can follow me on Instagram, on Facebook, Jarrod McGinnis. That's Jarrod. I'll put my name down the bottom and try to put the links to that stuff. And so you can find that, and then I'll be able to do whatever I can to help you out. And I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for your time.
As always, thanks for watching. Tell your mama and them. Subscribe and comment to continue with us on this journey. And don't forget to check out Noah Smith at noahsmithmusic.com.